card shedding. Card shedding is one of my most recent fascinations in board games. You all know it, and you don't get to pretend that you don't. If nothing else, if you've never touched anything else, you've touched Uno. A game with colors and numbers. You lay them out one at a time. Hope your friend doesn't mess you up with those special 4+ cards. And you do your best. And that's an entire genre. It's beautiful. We love it. So today, I really want to give us a chance to explore what this genre offers, because I think we can do better. So if you like Uno, if you like the idea of playing your cards cleverly and hoping to mess up your friends, let's look at what else we can do in this genre. And so let's start with one of the most popular ones out there today, Scout. Or, better yet, Scout! Scout! Scout!
Scout is a game for 2 to 5 players and comes in a couple colorful editions. We'll be using the Oink version of the game here. To start, you'll receive a hand of cards that you cannot move or alter their placement. In your hand, you are looking for straights, like 3, 4, 5, and so on, or matching sets, like 2 or 3 of a kind. While you can't move any of your cards, at the start of the round, you can choose to instead flip your hand over to the other side, revealing totally new values and potential. In this example, flipping the cards revealed a pair of 1s next to each other, so we can play that from our hand. Playing cards from your hand is the first action, called showing. Our opponent then either needs to play a pair of a higher value or play a set or straight with more than 2 cards. In this case, they have a pair of 5s, beating our hand. They will take our pair, flip them over to represent points at the end of the round. The next player drops a pair of 8s, beating the pair of 5s, and cashes those 5s in as points at the end of the round. The fourth player drops a massive set of 3 4s, gathering the 8s. We cannot beat that play, so we have to go with the next best thing, scouting. We reward that last player a point for stumping us, then we take a card from their set, flipping it to either side, and slot it anywhere into our hand. Our tiny straight of 2 and 3 is now a respectable 2, 3, 4. You'll also notice the current hand is now down a card, reduced to only a pair of 4s, making it easier for the next person. The next player is then able to drop another pair of 8s to score the previous set. The next player has the scout, bringing the current hand down to a single 8, which then can be beaten with just a pair of 1s. And now, for the really spicy piece of the puzzle. Once around, instead of scouting or showing, you can flip your little card token to both scout and show. We pay the player for one of the cards in the set, and then we can turn around and drop our impressive 4-card straight in the same turn. It's impressive enough that these 2 players all have to pass, but the player to our right can indeed play a higher straight and empties his hand, ending the round. To score, you add up all the points you got and minus them with the number of cards in your hand. Between my 3 points and the 3 cards left in my hand, I'm walking away with a fat goose egg.
First and foremost, if there's one thing that this game offers, it's that absolutely alluring idea of wondering, can I make these cards work? Or do I just turn them over? Knowing that if I do that, there's no going back. And the amount of times I've sat down with people and played, and they didn't get it the first time, but usually by the second round, they're like, wait a minute. Yeah, I could make that work. And that's every round? That's good. We love that. Another big special thing, and maybe one of the big reasons this is maybe the big card shedding game out right now, is between scouting and showing, you get a power. You get a special trick, a special ability that just makes it that much better. And that is when you can scout and show. This is a pile of points in front of you, if you can't tell. You cannot beat it. Not with a hand like this, that's not happening. But by scouting and just slotting that wee little guy right in there, then being able to show once around, it gives this incredible feeling of accomplishment. But everyone can do it. And that's pretty incredible to have such opportunities available in such a small game. And sometimes with game design, just one little special thing right there really, really just gives that extra oomph, that extra pizzazz. So, one thing that you'll find in a lot of card shedding games is that when you're out of ideas, you're going to need to pass. And that isn't fun. You draw a card and you move on. You let it go. And that's it. What Scout does, though, when you do pass, or rather scout in this way, you actually take a card from the set at hand. So this set of 3 cards that just isn't being beaten by anyone just diminishes a little bit. And meanwhile, your hand, while getting bigger, is also getting better, because in the next turn, now we've got ourselves a 9-8-7, and no one's going to beat that. Until they do. And that just really gives this agency that has really given Scout so much popularity. And agency is the name of the game here. We are going to see it a lot later on as well. And what people find is that when you're able to take such a restrictive, don't move your cards around game, and then find ways to slowly manipulate it and eventually be able to drop down a big, big number and tell people just you did it and you're better than them because you are. That's pretty special. That's really one of the many reasons people like this game. There's 2 versions, of course. This is the Japanese edition, which I'm playing right now because I'm cooler than you. But there's also the Oink edition game that you can get pretty much anywhere and everywhere. I really feel this should kind of replace Uno outside of teaching maybe elementary students. You get the same amount of fun. It's quicker. And I feel it's just a little smarter. I think you feel better when you play it. But that's, again, a subjective take. Having tackled maybe the biggest mainstream success since Uno, Scout can be found anywhere. It's in Target. Pretty sure you can find it at most big box-sized stores. However, I want to take a little step back and talk about a different game that's kind of the opposite spectrum. Scout has a massive appeal, whereas Tichu is a game for those who like the finer things in life, who need to maybe study their game a little bit, do a little research, and get good, as it were. What do I mean by that? Well, let's take a look. My goodness gracious. Tichu is a big bag of rules, and to be fair, I'm not going to cover it all in a few minutes, so here's the important stuff. You play on teams, 2v2 with your teammate across from you, and you can drop a hefty wager called a grand Tichu or a
small Tichu
if you're confident you and your partner can get out of the game first. But don't worry, you're not going to be doing that for like the first 100,000 games you play through. Instead, you'll pass a card to every player and get one from each of them in return. Whoever ends up with the Mahjong card plays it first. They can make a wish where they tell the next person what card to play. From there, the game just becomes ladder climbing, or rather, each person plays a card higher than the last. When everyone else passes, the winner can play any one of their available hands, like pairs, triples, full houses, straights, or even singles again, and everyone must follow. Each time you win a set, you pick up all the cards you won to score at the end of the round. The game isn't over once your hand empties, but rather, when all but one person is left, making it a true team game. In your stack of cards you won, you get 5 points for each 5 card, 10 points for each 10 or king, as well as bonuses or penalties depending on if you made bold wagers at the start of the round. And let's talk about the animal cards. We have the Mahjong tile we talked about before. Then there is, of course, the Phoenix card, which is a half step above any other card in the game, but it's worth negative 25 points. Then we have the Dragon card, which is more powerful and the most powerful single card in the whole game, worth 25, but you have to pass it off to someone else. Then you have the Dog card, which I actually kind of like. You just pass the turn over to your friend to get the lead. Misplay any of these and enjoy your partner sighing heavily and trying their best not to roll their eyes at you. Mix all these rules together into a rather unforgiving game and count up your points at the end of each round, as you are all in a race to see who can get to the end goal of 1,000 points. 1,000 points first. Best of luck.
That's a lot. Right? Like, there are so many little things, little nitpicking notes that a 5 scores a 5, and that there are not just 1 or 2, but 4 different characters. They all play at different times and do different things, and some are good for you, and is it okay to lose points at this turn? And this one gets you lots of points, but you have to give those points to your opponent. This one passes a turn. I actually really kind of like this card a lot, but it is a lot. And you think, well, I've played Scythe, I've played maybe Twilight Imperium, and that's true, but the amount of classical fiddliness that Tichu gives really justifies like the title, the Mahjong of card games, because that's really what we're looking at here. This is if you like Mahjong, if you really want complicated rules and you don't want your hand held, you want to be thrown right in, because the thing about Tichu is that when you go into it, even if you know your card shedding capabilities, you are going to get rocked, and you have to be okay with that. You are going to lose, and you are going to lose hard. My very first game, I remember, was a mid-match to 500 points, and we lost by 440, and I was playing with an expert. This is one you play a lot of, and the idea of just being thrown down the stairs, hoping you catch yourself, you have to, I just can't stress enough, you have to be okay with that. And if you're not, well, it's hard to find a way to ease into it. And if only there was such a way. But that said, if that does sound appealing, and I don't think that I think there is a place for that. There absolutely is. You just have to know. And not only that, and this is the kicker, you need to find 3 more friends that are, or find a club for this. This is a game that would do well with a club of people playing the same game over and over. But if you're not that, and you've got like a stack of games, couldn't be me, you're not going to find the time to get good at this. If you've, a great example, you know, you and your friends are all good at Smash Brothers, but say one guy comes over and he just starts wrecking house with all of you. Is it still fun? Does it drive you to be better? Or do you just want to get the pizza out and put on the VHS copy of Star Wars Episode 2 Attack of the Clones? Because if that's the answer, this isn't the game for you. But if you absolutely do want to focus and really hone your skills, there are not many games outside of the ultimate classics of chess and Go, Mahjong, that's really going to satisfy that. So keep it in mind. But for me, personally, I'm going to want something that maybe eases me in, just a little more. And Tichu is not that. And that's okay. Okay, so Tichu, overwhelming, a lot. Possibly rewarding if you're willing to get there. But let's dial it back. I feel I've probably lost a lot of people thinking that it's all uphill from here. And it's not the case. Instead of playing incredibly fidgety messes, let's just have some fun with some foxes. Let's play some Linko.
Linko plays 2 to 5 players and no scaling is required. Every game has players dealt 13 cards with 6 left on the table to make a card row next to the deck. Players will play sets of cards with the same numbers in front of them to make a score pile. In this case, we will start our game off by playing a pair of 2s. You may not know it yet, but these 2s are in danger. Player 2 then plays a single 5 from his hand. Pretty harmless. The third player plays a pair of 6s and activates the real hook of this game, snatching. Every time you play a set in clockwise fashion, inspect the top set of cards on each person's score pile. If the number of cards you played matches another person's, and the numbers on the cards are higher than theirs, you get to snatch their cards. When you snatch, you can either add your friend's cards to your hand, or leave it to them. They can either take them back into their hand, or discard them. In this case, our opponent takes the cards to add to his growing set of 2s. Why would I have left those 2s out there when they're so easy to beat? Well, it's all a part of the plan, as I can now pick up cards from the row, like this wild and 10 card. While my hand is larger, which is the opposite of the game's goal, my hand is also stronger. I play 4 6s, which is indeed a strong hand, but I can't snatch anyone as the other players only have sets of 1 and 2 respectively. You can play any size hand you like. Sometimes you will play weaker sets, completely hoping to get snatched, while other times you may drop over a half dozen cards to make a statement to someone. Of course, what you think may look like a big set of 4s might look pretty sad when an opponent draws their own set of 4 with a much higher number. In this case, he doesn't take the cards, so we discard them and take some 10 and 11 cards from the row. Our next opponent unwisely plays their fat stack of 2s. They have the same number of cards as the other opponent, but 2 is obviously a lesser number than 8, so no snatch happens. These fools have played right into our trap, almost as if we planned it that way. We play another set of 4, this time of the 10 cards. Our set is the same as our first opponent's, and ours is stronger, so we snatch their cards and add them to our hand for later use. We then check on our next opponent and see we can snatch their cards too. Both sides don't want them, and so they are discarded. We snatched from both opponents, so they both have to draw up to 4 new cards. As long as players have cards in hand, the game will continue. Play sets, snatch when you can. It's simple, it's devious. Eventually, though, someone will run out of cards, immediately ending the game. Scoring is simple, as cards in your pile are worth 1 point, and each still in their hand are -1 point, and the highest score wins. That's it.
I'm theatrical. I like to be grandiose and use a lot of words I don't understand. But I shouldn't mince words here. I'm covering a lot of great games. This might be one of my favorites. Absolutely. See, when we talked with Scout, we talked about agency and how no one likes to pass. And the truth is, there's no passing in Linko. There is just this sense of, even if I have nothing else, if nothing else, I can play 1 card. by looking around, you also have to keep an idea of everyone at the table, not just their hand size, but what cards are in front of them. For instance, here, everybody has a pair in front of them. And while I do have 3 12s, just by setting down a pair of 2, I can either snatch up everybody else's cards, or, if nothing else, I can get rid of them, make them put it back in their hand, or discard them. In this case, maybe I do actually want these ones. I'm taking a risk. I'm making my hand bigger, but at the same time, while I'm making my hand bigger, I'm offering myself more points in the future. There's this tiny bit of push your luck to that really gives me life when I play this and says, I have to keep focused on the entire table. I'm paying attention to you. I'm paying attention to the table. I'm paying attention to the tableau in front of us. And I am able to do my best and play cards just the right time and hopefully just get away with it. The scoring, it's easy. All these 1 point each. Negative points. That's no good. Usually the person who empties their hand will win the game. But if you've been taking a lot of chances and getting more and more cards into your hand, maybe you won't. Maybe you can beat the other person. That is absolutely a possibility. And it's really, really cool. There's no scaling of the game. I don't have to take cards out or move things around or only deal so many. I don't have a chart I have to look at. Deal out the cards, deal out a hand. Let's go. I love that. It's this absolute perfect mixture of simple game, but the chemistry of it is truly who you bring to the table. I've had incredible sessions of 1v1 where I am playing just one person back and forth, and we're really trying to see if we can either get rid of those cards first or maybe take all the cards from our friend and dump them into our pile next. Can we get away with that? Will it work? Meanwhile, in a bigger number, you really try to see if you can combo off each person. Everyone's really wary to lay down a pair when there's already a pair, because that means someone else is going to be twice as tempted to lay down a big number that's going to make you have to draw more cards. It's fantastic. You don't have to think incredibly hard about it, but you also really find yourself naturally just delving into the realm of possibilities. So while maybe we're not scuba diving down to the deep depths of Tichu, we're having a lot of fun at the pool party, and you're all invited.
Quick editor's note. I've had a lot of people who have played with me say something to the point of, well, it makes sense that you like this game a lot. You win almost every time. And you know what? That's a fair criticism. I'm very successful in Linko so far. That said, I do think there's something to be said about enjoying a game that you found chemistry with, that you gel with, that you understand. So while that bias is definitely there, this isn't a flex or anything, but it's just much more to say, I understand this game and it makes me appreciate it all the more. I think it's important to point that bias out, but I don't think it makes the opinion any less valid. Just wanted to say.
And now we're down to the final one.
But Stu, teacher,
You say.
you just said Linko might be one of your favorite games ever. Why would you not make that your last one? Is there something better or more important?
Kinda? I don't know if it's better than Linko, but I do think this one's pretty important. And it's called Big Two. How about we check it out?
Big Two is a big game from the 1980s created in Eastern Asia. Its base game is pretty simple to learn, as 3 or 4 players will race to empty their hands first. This is a game based with a standard deck of cards, but suits are important, and this copy from Plate Games really helps remind you with its vibrant colors. In a 3-player game, A whopping 17 cards are dealt to each player, leaving one to sit in the box. The organizing of your hand can be daunting if you don't have the magic of editing on your side. Let's step away from this pretend game and directly see how gameplay works. The lead player can play a single, pair, three of a kind, or several poker-esque 5-card hands to lead the set. From there, everyone needs to play the same number of cards, being sure to play something more powerful or passing. If they start with a single 3, we are restricted to only play singles. On many occasions, someone will play a card with the same strength, like these jacks. And after strength, you check to see which suit is stronger. In this copy, purple is the strongest suit, so this jack can be played over the other. If purple is the strongest suit, and 2s are the highest number, then you can guess that this purple 2 is in fact the strongest card in the game. When no one can play cards, the set is discarded, and the last person to play the card starts the set. If they start with a triple, then everyone responds the same or passes. Very simple, very straightforward. The real fun of the game starts when someone plays a set of 5 cards. Here, we start with a straight, and someone responds by playing their own on top. You have to play 5 cards, but you can play a different hand of cards. So you can reply with a flush, which can be toppled by a duo of a pair and 3 of a kind, aka full house. The next highest hand is 4 of a kind plus 1 card. And then at that point, the only thing that can topple that is a straight flush, the strongest hand in the game. It's important to see not only what your opponents played, but also their hand size. It's dangerous to slim your hand down to a single or a double, as if given the opportunity, a player with a fat hand might have a set of cards that simply cannot be responded to. The score? It's simple. You lose points for cards in your hand, play goes for a predetermined number of rounds, or until someone hits negative 100 and the highest score wins.
Now, I think there's probably some people out there that are thinking, wow, suits, just like poker. Or, if you were here earlier, just like Tichu. Didn't you get upset with Tichu for being so complicated? Yeah, I did. But where Tichu doesn't seem to care if you're ready or not, Big Two is very much the opposite. Big Two came out in the 1970s, which is over half a century ago. The fiddliness of this game is to be expected, and yet it is still quite a smooth experience. The problem is with Big Two is that there are various rules all across Eastern Asia where it supposedly was created. And so what is the appeal? Why does it persist into this era? Well, because of a couple reasons. One, poker hands in themselves aren't that complicated. You can use any cards you like to play, whether it be your super special sumo deck that you got back in your trip to Japan, or, the obligatory Dunkin' Donuts Garfield crossover that you use to win the game. That's fine. And that's one of the best aspects of it, is that unlike most of these games, a deck of cards will do you. But I'm not recommending just any deck of cards. Granted, go play it right now, that's fine. But I really feel that Big Two here is special for a big, big reason. And that is this rule book. Big Two has enough variance and enough nonsense that if you wanted to, you could staple it all in and make it just as, if not more complicated than Tichu. This can be just as much of a headache if you want. But what the game does is adds advanced rules. And it says level 1, strong but risky 2. This adds flashy finishes and excessive patience. You see new mistakes you make. You have to polish your gameplay. You have to get a little better every time. Okay, well, what happens next? Well, if you want to keep playing, eventually they'll add in dragons. And at this point, you know how the game's played. You understand the entire basis of Big Two. You're just adding in these flashy new cards that can maybe even beat twos themselves. And you keep adding more and more as you play. As you play. And I think that's the key. By doing so, you can level up your game and be very good. You don't have to be expected to be very good when you start. And then, not only does this rule book offer this, but it's not in the rule book. Let me tell you a little secret. If you're feeling a little fun with it, take out one dragon. Let's just keep that one. And this game comes with an extra Mahjong, dog, and Phoenix card. You can do with those what you wish. Whatever you like. I'm not in charge. If you maybe wanted to play another game that was way too difficult for you at the start, but now you've been conditioned that it's just a few extra steps and you have a group of friends that are already well trained in it, there you go. That's clever. That's dirty. That's I don't know if it's legal, but it's good. This way, I could look into possibly learning Tichu on a level that wasn't there for me before. I don't have time to suffer through that game, but I have time for Big Two. And if I played enough, maybe I'll have time for level 1 or level 2. And if I don't, I still have Big Two right here. At the end of the day, where do I stand with these? Honestly, it's really hard to say. I think for me, Tichu is definitely at the bottom. It's so much. You heard right away if this was for you or not. If the overwhelmingness is like half the fun for you, go have fun. See you later. Bye-bye. No hard feelings. I think the next one's kind of a tie, which could not be more of a cop-out, and that is going to be Scout and Big Two. And it's just kind of what are you looking for? Are you looking for innovative, flashy fighting? Or you be looking for something that feels a little more classic, something that maybe you convince Grandpa to play? You can't really go wrong with it for me. And yeah, Linko. I love Linko. I was given a review copy as kind of a throwaway, I felt, and I got to be real. I'm just blown away that numbers on cards could work that well. So I really feel you can't go wrong with any of these. If you met me on the street and said, Linko's garbage, I'm a Scout person, that's fine. I am curious what you like, though. I've got some other card shedding games, whatever that is. I'd love to get to the table. If you would like to see those, please let me know. If we can get this to, what's a random number? 3,000. We get to 3,000 views. If we get to 3,000 views, I will do a second batch of card shedding games. I would love to discuss these more. And I just hope this got you interested in trying some of these games out. Get on Board Game Arena, grab a deck of cards, just find it and go play games. Please, get out there. Have some fun. And until next time, take care. See you later.